Знову вітаю вас, шановні колеги, як завжди в цей час.
As usual, this time, Colonel Lysenko with information on the situation in the east of the country. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Over the last 24 hours, the situation in the anti-terrorist operation zone remained tense, however controlled. The militants have several times fired and shelled at our positions from the weapons that are to be withdrawn, including 5 times from 120mm mortars and twice from 122mm cannons. There were no shellings from tanks. However, our military are adhering to the Minsk agreements and respond only when there's a real danger to the life of our fighters. The hottest spots on the confrontation line over the last 24 hours were Shirokhin and Talakivka in Mariupol sector, the vicinity of Donetsk airport and suburbs of Gorlivka in Donetsk sector, and our positions next to Popasna and in the vicinity of Bakhmutka highway in Luhansk district sector. According to the state border service, there were 10 flights of enemy drones, and next to the village Budkivka in Luhansk region, 1 drone of the enemy was destroyed. This populated center is 70 kilometers off the line of confrontation, which means that the enemy wants to get as much information about the forces of anti-terrorist operation as possible. Over the last 24 hours, the Ukrainian military forces have not sustained casualty losses. 1 fighter was wounded next to the Pisky village. The demining unit from Samber in Lviv region is trained to efficiently defuse explosives in the anti-terrorist operation zone. They are laying passes in the fields mined with landmines. This is done by the unit under the command of a young and energetic officer nicknamed Anatolich. At the same time, in Mariupol and adjacent territories, the building of fortification constructions is going on. The defending fortifications are in their hundreds, and almost 300 objects of defense will be erected and built. Around the clock, both military engineers and civil workers are working around Mariupol, and our military are prepared to rebuff the enemy anytime. The medics of the Chernihiv military hospital are helping the wounded military servicemen. Starting from the beginning of the anti-terrorist operation, over 1,300 military have undergone treatment in this hospital. At the moment, 28 participants in the anti-terrorist operation are being treated there. In Ivano-Frankivsk, 75 young people were seen off to military units who will be the first to go to service within the framework of the call-up campaign Spring 2015. As the regional military commissar of Ivano-Frankivsk, Colonel Yarmoshuk, said, the call-up campaign goes on smoothly, and almost 500 people in Ivano-Frankivsk region will be drafted to the army, and they all will serve in units that won't take part in the anti-terrorist operation. The young soldiers will be provided with the modern Ukrainian military uniforms and will undergo training. Ukraine continues to strengthen its cooperation with Western partners Almost 300 commanders from 173rd Brigade of the U.S. Army came to Lviv today. The American soldiers will train Ukrainian military. The program includes the training in combat action and the upgrading of professional skills. Also, Ukraine raises its combat cooperation with its closest neighbors. And yesterday in Lublin, another step to create a joint Lithuanian, Polish and Ukrainian brigade was made. Bronislaw Komorovsky went to take part. Ukraine will delegate 545 military to this brigade, Poland up to 3,500 and Lithuania up to 350.
Ukrainian special services find infiltrators of the enemy that are trying to destabilize our state, and the SBU or Ukraine found infiltrators group. They were preparing explosion of trains on the Pridnestrovsk train railroads in Dnipropetrovsk region. Leader of the criminal group joined again formation of DNR last February, and at the request of militants, he built a group to organize terrorist acts. Members of the group also are suspected they were trying to explode the railroad on the track Moscow-Samarovka, and a passenger train was about to come to pass, and they had computer equipment and explosive devices and communication means with their curators. Also in the apartment of resident Dzerzhinsky police, together with soldiers of Mirotvorets battalion, they found Kalashnikov submachine gun and Makarov pistol and grenades F1. That weapons he had without the permission, and just so now there is an investigation, and I would like to remind that there is a month of voluntarily given up of registered ammunition, and citizens who are wise and who give up their arsenals, home arsenals to police, they will not be subject to criminal responsibility. There is a rotation of Ukraine policemen. 130 from Sumy region went to ATO area. This is a special destination group, Sumy, and other police units from Sumy. They voluntarily decided to go to Donbass. They are ready to defend with weapons the order in this region. 50 fighters from police battalion Kyiv, after a month near Mariupol, they returned to Zaporizhia. And the same number of the colleagues went back to ATO area, and for very good, perfect discipline, for very good attitude to the service leadership of ATO and local police. They mentioned that this is one of the best unit. Some of them received presents and thank you letters. There was one more rotation of experts on explosive devices for a month in ATO area. Specialists provided practical assistance to policemen in Donetsk region during destroyment of explosive devices, and they provided expertise. For a month, during a month, 4 experts from Sumy region and Kiev, they destroyed 32 artillery shells that have not exploded, and 64 grenades and 20 kilograms of different explosives. Ukrainian military men continue to help locals in Donbass. In one of the towns in Donetsk region together, officers on civil military communication, local community, they built a new playground for children. Residents say because of our military men, they can solve a lot of issues, and they can get assistance, first of all, for children. At the same time, Ukrainian officers say that the biggest pleasure is to work together with the locals who are not indifferent, and such cooperation disperses Russian propaganda myths and proves that all want peace and agreement. That's it. Your questions, please. Thank you. Senior Dvorny, Channel 5, 2 questions. Is there information how many shellings took place during last day? And give your comments. What is happening in Piske? Because there is information that right sector left Piske. And could you confirm that? Does mean that we give up that position? A general number of shelling. I don't have such an information. I can only inform you about the facts. That prohibited weapons were used, and that weapon must be away from the line of separation. As to Piske, because voluntary battalion or unit right sector was pulled back to include them into the armed forces of Ukraine. On that, instead, our position still the control of Ukrainian military men, and our units replace them, and they do necessary work to defend those positions in case there is a shelling or attack. So Ukrainian military men did not give up any position. They continue holding those positions. Next question. Ukraine Forum, Lysenko. I have a question. Your opinion of Security and Defense Council the Zakharchenko told he can he's ready to hold one more referendum about the status of the Donetsk region. You see, as to referendums in Ukraine, including eastern regions and occupied territories of the Luhansk and Donetsk region, it's clear that even according to Minsk agreements, that elections to local authorities must be exclusively according to Ukrainian legislation. And after illegal military formations leave those territories, and everything will be created, all the conditions for people to express their will and for people to elect real leaders whom they trust and who will care after them. As to Mr. Zakharchenko and with the referendum, probably he doesn't know that this is a Latin word. And Zakharchenko referendum is like a dog and a rail. He's the one who says what they ask him to say, what they tell him to tell from Kremlin. So I wouldn't advise you to treat seriously such statements. If there is information about
trainings, you said that colleagues from the US have come. How long will the training last, and maybe we know what they will be teaching? The American military are instructors. They have an enormous military combat experience, so they will teach our military additional skills that can be required during direct combat clashes. This is mostly about the organization of defense, actions within units, also individual training and unit training, also a comprehensive training in medical help, reaction to shelling, finding out the positions of the militants. So this is a methodological help. This does not mean that they brought some special equipment or arms for the Ukrainian military. This is methodological help that has an aim to help our military to augment the experience of combat action. So if there are no other questions, thank you, Colonel, and we expect you here